Unlike most of Lenovo's recently announced laptops, the IdeaPad S10-3's design is actually more revolutionary than evolutionary. While the S10 and S10-2 were more round and bulbous, the S10-3 comes across thin and chic. There are plenty of rounded corners, but the beveled edges and the island-style keyboard gives an almost angular feel. Our model had a textured red cover, which actually comes across more like a muted pink than a true red. This truly looks like a designer notebook rather than an appliance-looking machine Lenovo usually pushes out. Netbooks are usually a bevel of compromises, and the keyboard can be a huge one. Lenovo's first generation netbook may have had the traditional Lenovo feel to it, but the layout was certainly non-standard. The S10-2 improved on that and had a larger keyboard, but the S10-3 trumps them all in size and layout. This is the first netbook that I can type on well without a learning curve. The layout is very intuitive for anyone who is used to typing on a full-size standard layout keyboard. While I'm not a big fan of touchpads, the S10-3's gets the job done. It's understandably on the small side, but it's clearly separated from the palm rest, and it appears to be made of the same material as the palm rest, which gives a slick appearance. Like many touchpads out there today, there is no separate left or right buttons. There are two tiny dots to indicate where you should press to click, which produces a satisfying physical click on both the left and the right buttons. Netbook displays aren't typically much to write home about, and understandably so. Price and functionality constrain the capacity for the need of a bigger, better display. The S10-3's display is sufficient for the basic use of the device. Brightness varies suitability for comfortable viewing in a dark room or for overcast outdoors. I wouldn't expect good viewability in bright sunlight, especially with the glossy finish. The colors and contrasts are all sufficient, but nothing more. Since the LCD does feature the standard 1024 by 600 resolution, viewing remotely large photos, to say nothing of editing them, is less than ideal. The same goes for web browsing on most sites. While the 24 pixels width is okay for most sites, you will have to do a lot of vertical scrolling. 10-inch netbooks still haven't evolved much on the multimedia front. Loading up your favorite video site will work relatively well as long as you don't watch HD flash content or try to do anything else at the same time. I took the time to watch some Netflix instant videos and surprised to see only 80 to 85% CPU usage. The S10-3 and accordingly most other notebooks can handle basic multimedia needs in a pinch, but avid media consumers would do well suited for a better machine. Intel's latest Atom platform, or codenamed Pine Trail, powers the S10-3 and most other netbooks these days. While not any faster than the last generation, it does move the memory controller and graphics processor onto the same chip as the CPU for cost and power savings. The 5400 RPM hard drives and the DDR2 RAM are also standard, along with the usual assortment of ports. Unfortunately, an express card slot is still lacking and lost since the original S10. For some reason, Lenovo's netbooks have never led the class in battery life, but they're no slouch either. While a 3-cell battery is technically an option for the S10-3, 6 cells are generally standard in what's included in our machine. As with all our reviews, we tested the laptop with a mix of real-world usage scenarios. Running Photoshop and games on this machine is pointless, so we stuck with what the netbook does best: browse the web. Keeping an eye on the CPU meter, the little Atom kept itself very busy loading flash and graphic-heavy web pages, generally maxing out during the loading of a new page. We also left some Pandora playing through a website in the background and even loaded up Netflix instant movies. With this relatively challenging workload, the Lenovo IdeaPad S10-3 lasted for 5.5 hours, with 1.25 hours spent watching a Netflix video, and the CPU running about 80–85%. In the area where netbooks truly tend to fall behind, in my experience, is the real-world usage. Sure, a super small, portable, and cheap PC with long battery life sounds appealing, but you may wish you had opted for something else when you try to type up a storm or do more than 1.5 tasks at once. If you're on a very strict budget and need strong portability, a netbook makes perfect sense. Let me tell you what makes the S10-3 Lenovo's best netbook yet. The S10-3 has a very sleek design, top-notch keyboard, and respectable battery life. If battery life is your only qualm, you would likely want to look at some other models from Toshiba and Asus that are pushing 8+ hours. Lenovo has always had an edge in their keyboards, and this design is about perfect for a netbook as it can get.